pivot from its initial plan for the factory to be EV exclusive. The plant is touted as having almost twice as much automated operations as other Hyundai facilities. Automated guided vehicles, including pallets for in-process autos, parking robots in the assembly shop, and Boston Dynamics dog-like spot robot performing exterior quality inspection in the weld shop, all add to the futuristic of the sparkling, new facility. Title: Trump to announce auto tariff plan at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Content: President Donald Trump will announce his plan on automotive tariffs at 4 p.m. Eastern today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters. This report will be updated. Title: Trump's auto tariff comments cause confusion as Liberation Day approaches, 4 p.m. news conference set. Content: President Donald Trump's conflicting statements on tariffs sowed more confusion in the auto industry as automakers rushed to curry favor with the White House as the administration shifts plans for levies. After previously saying Trump would announce tariff details April 2nd, the White House planned to hold a 4 p.m. Eastern Time news conference March 26th to outline import taxes on cars shipped to the United States. Trump is expected to also place reciprocal tariffs on U.S. trading partners and launch automotive levies. But it's not clear when those auto tariffs might start or the extent of reciprocal tariffs. Read more, live updates on tariff news and impacts. In this episode of the Ally All Ears podcast, Aaron Lee, Senior Director at Ally Dealership Insurance, discusses the growing threat of cyberattacks on dealerships and the importance of staying vigilant. He shares essential tips for safeguarding against these risks and highlights the need for specialized cyber insurance coverage to protect your business. Interactive map, auto manufacturing sites in Canada, the US, and Mexico. Not knowing the landscape that you're looking at makes these decisions really tough, said Sam Fiorani, Vice President of Global Vehicle Forecasting at Auto Forecast Solutions. To be sure, automakers and suppliers are not standing still. Companies are game planning trade scenarios and considering how U.S. tariffs and reciprocal levies could impact where they build products and source parts, said Michael Robinett, Executive Director of Automotive Consulting at S&P Global Mobility. You don't want to make a decision too early, he said. If the trade environment is different than you thought it would be, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you wait too long, competitors that may have guessed properly are ahead of you. On March 24th, Hyundai laid out plans to spend $6 billion on a steel mill in Louisiana capable of producing 2.7 million tons of steel annually as part of a larger $21 billion investment in the U.S. Trump touted the investments as a clear demonstration that tariffs very strongly work in attracting manufacturing to the U.S. Ingratiating themselves with the president is nothing new for automaker executives, who have worked to influence White House policy and regulatory decisions under presidents of both parties. But it's a task that's taken on new urgency because of the threats tariffs pose to their supply chains. Hyundai is not alone in keeping close to Trump. General Motors CEO Mary Barra met with the president March 12 to talk about the automaker's investment strategy. And a March 4 call between Trump and Detroit 3 executives came shortly before the president agreed to exempt goods from Canada and Mexico from tariffs until April 2 if they comply with the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. There are several investment plans that have not been publicly announced because automakers are waiting for the right political opportunity, Fiorani said. Automakers are looking to make an impression on the White House. But holding off on announcements for political reasons means automakers have to wait to get permits, hire people, and move money around, he said. The free market doesn't work this way, Fiorani said. Automakers are supposed to be able to say they're opening a battery plant or building vehicles somewhere when they're ready to do that, not when they're politically motivated to do it. Trump has called April 2 Liberation Day for the U.S. He plans to announce a wide range of tariffs to counter what the administration views as unfair trade practices by other countries. Exceptions for 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports that cover most vehicles and parts made in those countries are set to expire that day. It remains unclear exactly how the reciprocal tariffs will be structured. Bloomberg reported March 24 that planning for reciprocal levies remains fluid, but it is expected that some nations will be excluded. The frustration is with the lack of clarity, said Laura Baucus, director of law firm Daikima's Automotive Group. You're talking about businesses being asked to make multi-billion-dollar decisions. Trump also plans to implement a 25% tariff on goods from countries that import oil from Venezuela, saying March 24 that the levy would stack on top of existing ones. That means tariffs on goods from China, the largest buyer of Venezuelan oil, would rise to 45% from 20%. There is also long-term uncertainty about how 25% steel and aluminum tariffs might impact auto parts. The Commerce Department is expected to expand a list of derivative products, or those comprised of steel and aluminum sourced outside the U.S. and subject to tariffs. Those products currently include aluminum bumpers and hinges, as well as steel lug nuts and other parts imported by the auto industry. Calculating the percentage of steel and aluminum in a part that is subject to tariffs is a logistical nightmare for suppliers, said Colin Shaw, president of MEMA Original Equipment Suppliers, which represents parts makers in the U.S. Tracking parts subject to tariffs as they cross over borders several times adds complexity for automakers and suppliers. They also will need to determine who will pay for higher tariff-related costs, Alex Partners wrote in a March 24 note. There are no guarantees automakers will pick up the tariff tab, nor that Tier 1 suppliers will reimburse Tier 2s for any share of the levies, and so on down the chain, Alex Partners wrote. Regardless of what happens on April 2 and beyond, automakers and suppliers are bracing for parts and vehicle shipment delays as more tariffs come into effect. The more tariffs we have to deal with, the more difficult